Welcome to a beautiful Saturday morning. It is very nice out, very cool at the moment. About 20 degrees Celsius, so that's around 70 Fahrenheit. So anyway, I'll continue on with what I was working on yesterday. That storm lasted for a good hour. This place was pretty flooded when I left here. It's been about 10 hours, the ground is still soggy, but I don't have to work out there, so I don't care. Take 2 of installing the subfloor. Yes, as you can tell, I bought a drill bit so I can pre-drill all the holes. There's actually 2 layers of steel here. That's why I couldn't put the screws in like I did on the other side. That's why I had to pre-drill them. And that's it for the framing. I'll show you a quick preview of what it looks like. Next, on to the insulation, and I'll explain the insulation in a minute. Okay, so this is the insulation I'm using. It is 1.5 inches thick. It has an R value of 5 per inch. That means this insulation has an R value of 7.5, which is quite good. It is a very thick and solid insulation, and is foil faced on both sides. For the walls and the ceiling, I'm going to be getting a spray foam insulation done professionally. I work for a company that does that. These sheets come in 4 foot by 8 foot lengths. I already cut them down for my floor here. They're 2 feet wide by 87 inches long. The reason it's 87 inches is because the interior of the bus, from that wall to that wall, is 90 inches. But then I'm adding 1.5 inches on both sides for the 2x2. So therefore it's 87 inches. And saying I actually cut these to 2 foot wide is incorrect. I actually cut it to 22 and a half. Because again, we went 2 foot on centers for our lumber. So we have to take away an inch and a half. From the center to the center of the stud is 24 inches. So we lose 3/4 of an inch here and 3/4 of an inch here. So instead of 24 inches, we want 22 and a half. This one would actually be 21 3/4 because we lose the entire inch and a half here, then half a stud here for 3/4 of an inch. I hope all that makes sense. So I'll put you back to the front of the bus and I'll quickly install the insulation, cut the pieces I need to cut down. Got little jogs like this and this little piece here. Also, I'll be using a product called PL400 to glue down the insulation. When driving, I don't want to hear a lot of squeak, 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 squeak from the insulation bouncing up and down. I'll also be using that PL400 when it comes to putting down the plywood. I'll show you what I'm talking about in a minute. This is the product I'll be using to glue the insulation onto the floor, and it will also be the same stuff I'm using to glue the plywood onto the 2x2s and onto the insulation. Like I mentioned earlier, I cut the insulation to size. It's very easy to cut. I'll show you how it's done. It can be done with all the rigid insulation. The blue insulation, the pink insulation, and this stuff. Yeah, that's pretty much where I need you. Right now this insulation is cut to 22 and a half inches to fit in between two of the studs. I need to cut this one to 21 3/4 because the first bay, as I mentioned before, is a little narrower. So the simplest way to do this, take your tape measure, no knife, nothing like that. Put your finger as a guide to the 21 3/4 mark and your tape measure won't move. Then just start at the one end, just giving a little bit of pressure and dig the end of that tape measure into your insulation. As you can see, the end of the tape measure gave us a nice little crease we can follow. Now all you have to do grab your knife, extend the blade, and follow that crease. Usually it's much easier, since my knife is dull from all the drywall dust on it and all the use of cutting the drywall, it makes it a little bit more difficult to cut this insulation. Otherwise it just takes 2 or 3 passes and you can cut right through it. Once you have cut through most of the insulation, all you have to do is break it apart. For the blue and pink stuff, it would have just been separated by now, but since I have the foil backing on this, I have to give it another slice down the back. And that's it. That's all it took. Now I'll show you how I'm going to put this in place. Simple stuff. So the first thing you'll want to do is dry fit it first. Well, if you're not using glue, you can just put it in place and you're done. But I'm using the glue, so I want to dry fit it first to make sure it fits properly. Just like that. So pop it out. We know that it fits. I'm not going to use a lot of PL. And if this stuff ever stops dripping out, I'll put the panel back in place. Glue on, put the panel back in place. Then grab a little bit of weight, whatever you can find, and put it in the center. Done. So I'll put you back at the front of the bus, find some more items as weight, and I'll continue the process. Well, I couldn't find much in the way of weight, so hopefully what I have is enough. For the framing in the front of the bus, I've come into a small problem. Before, there used to be plywood on top of this flooring, and it ran flush with this part, so that the transmission cover would sit flush like that. But now that I don't have that plywood on the floor, I'm going to have to bend this transmission cover, because I want to have this in place like this, and have a 2x2 running across so I can pull the transmission cover off later. I want this down first so I can put the 2x2, insulation beside it, insulation on top, so this still has the same R value and insulation value as the rest of the bus. So I'm going to have to put a 3/4 inch kink into this transmission cover. Let's go do that. Okay, let's see how this thing fits. That fits pretty damn well, I have to admit. Okay, I got lucky, what can I say? Once I put the screws in place, this thing won't move. So I can put the 2x2s around, then I can stack insulation on top, and I'm laughing. Okay, so I guess I'll just get back to framing and insulation and stuff. That's the installation done so far with all the framing I have done. So I'll take you up front, get you set up so you can see how I'm gonna... I'll take you up front so you can... I'll just take you up front. Okay, so this is all that's left to be framed and insulated. Too close, a little too close. There we go. So I'll cut my material, I'll put it in place, and I'll show you what it's going to look like when it's framed. For you it's going to be about 2 or 3 seconds. For me it's going to be about 2 hours. I ran out of PL glue, so I'm going to have to go into town and pick some more up. I believe I'm low on a few other supplies as well, so I'm going to have to do a little bit of shopping. And I'm also going to call it lunch. It's around 12 o'clock right now. So I'll see you, for you, in a couple of seconds, for me in a couple of hours. Take care. As promised, it was only a couple of seconds for you and a couple of hours for me. This is what the framing looks like. I don't have anything screwed in place. And another thing I'm going to be doing that I didn't do in the other part of the floor, I'm also going to be using the PL glue to glue all this down. This square right here is where the driver's seat is. I figured better box it around there so there's extra support for the seat. I bought some long bolts that will go through the 1.5 inch insulation and the 3/4 inch plywood. So the seat will be bolted in the same place, nice and firm and secure. So I'll get to screwing this in place and gluing it down. Now I bet some of you are wondering, why did I use PL on this section compared to the back section of the bus? In the back section I was able to screw into the side panels, which made the floor very solid and it's keeping it in place. Over here I had nothing to screw into. So I'm hoping the PL will keep it in place and that it won't shift around on me. It shouldn't, because once I get the plywood down, it's going to be all solid and secure anyway. I just want to take that extra step to make sure that it's all good and it's all in place. Well, apparently when I was doing the installation of the front of the bus, I forgot to hit record. So let's give you a reveal. Had to add a little bit of spray foam insulation here. Got a little gappy. This ended up crooked somehow, but still, not a problem. For the wheel wells, for the side here, I'm probably going to put the rigid insulation after I do the plywood. Then I'll frame it in and I'll get the spray foam insulation done on top of the wheel wells. Had a little bit of a gap back here and a little bit of a gap back here. Oh, you probably can't even see that, it's so dark. There you go. But otherwise it turned out pretty good, I think. So next step is going to be the plywood. So stick around and watch me have fun trying to install that stuff. Okay, I'm just about to start laying down the plywood. Remember yesterday when I got hit by that torrential downpour and I said that wasn't supposed to happen? And then I mentioned that we're supposed to be getting rain today. Well, that rain is very close by. So I'm going to be bringing in the first sheet of plywood, getting it in place. Then I'm going to get the second and third measurements for the next sheets of plywood so I can get them in place. Then I'll glue and screw them down. Hopefully I can get all the plywood in before the rain starts, then I can just continue working as normal. Sorry, I thought I heard rain. So yeah, I gotta go. So, crisis slightly averted. Looks like the rain is passing us, but I'm not taking anything for granted here. So I'm going to put down these 3 sheets of drywall. I'm going to put down these 3 sheets of plywood, glue and screw them, and then I'll bring the other sheets in and hopefully be able to finish the bus. It'd be nice to finish this flooring. Then I can concentrate on the layout and removing the windows, doing the exterior skin, and all the other fun stuff that follows. So I'll just get to work doing the flooring now. Like I mentioned when I was doing the flooring, I'm going to be putting glue on all the 2x2s, and I'm going to be using 2-inch deck screws. Deck screws are coated so they won't rust. This is good in case by some chance you have say a plumbing leak of some sort. Your screws won't rust and it won't damage your flooring. I'm using 2-inch screws because you want to get as much screw into your 2x2 as possible. So since I have 3/4 inch plywood on top of 2x2s, which are 1.5 inches thick, you're looking at a total thickness of 2 1/4. So 2-inch screws will give me nearly full penetration of a 2x2. You've just seen me mark the center of the plywood, so this way I know where to put the screws. It wouldn't be too nice to have holes all over the place in the plywood just because I'm trying to find the center stud in my flooring. I had you guys far away just in case I was having problems with sheets and I had to spin them around kind of funny. I just didn't want the tripod too close. So now I'll bring you a little closer so you can see the drilling process. Some people might say that I'm going a little excessive using 2-inch screws, but like I said earlier, better safe than sorry. I want to make sure the floor is down. Also, I'm going to be putting screws about every 6 to 8 inches. I want to make sure this floor is secure and that it doesn't squeak. If you have screws that are far apart, there's a better chance of your floor squeaking. Okay, I have those sheets done, mostly, that you can see. I'm sweating buckets right now, so I'm going to take a little break. And when I come back, I'll finish off these last couple of sheets. I'll trim away the spray foam insulation that's in the way first, and then I'll continue on. Okay, so on to the next 2 sheets. I already dry fit them and they fit quite nicely. The second sheet, over there, you can see that there is the opening for the fuel pump. When I get over there, I'll bring you with me and I'll show you what it looks like. So, on with gluing the joints first, then I'll put the sheets in place, then I'll screw it down like I did last time. Let's bring you a little closer to the action. That's it for the subfloor for today. The other sheets, I need to drill some holes in it for the chair and the seat belt. Show you those. So right there for the seat belt, and I have 4 holes in there for the chair. So I need to get that done. So I need to go home and get a 1/2 inch drill bit. And this is what that hole for the fuel pump looks like. Battery is almost dead on this thing again. So the insulation will fit in a certain way. I cut it specific. Then this plywood piece will fit right on top. It's a jigsaw puzzle. So all I'm going to do is PL that plywood onto the insulation, drill a couple of holes in there, then I can just, if I have to get to the fuel filter, all I have to do is just grab the holes that are in that plywood and the insulation and plywood will come up. Okay, so that's pretty much it for today, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one.